Sagittarius moons need adventure and stimulation and the ability to explore more than any other sign. So these guys will feel that compulsive need to just look beyond what limits are in front of them, to just go that extra mile to see what they're capable of. And also, they want to look forward to something, they want to look past what has been set as a limit. It's an instinctual part of them to just that want to grow and that want to develop parts of themselves that show them and everyone else that they're capable of being, maybe even, I don't want to say better, but but being bigger than their fears and being bigger than what society places on them, as in their limits. And so there's almost a religious, I would say, even the word spiritual, there is a definitely a underlying core belief or understanding that no matter what happens, they're going to be okay. And because of this faith in the process, things tend to work out, not like perfectly, but overall things work out quite well for them, because there is that attitude of things are going to be okay. And with this it allows them to get out of life's ruts a lot quicker than others. So maybe it can limit their emotional depth in ways, in some respects, but it also greatly strengthens their ability to confront or at least deal with life's challenges in a way that they don't feel blocked or limited for too long, because they'll find a way to get out of those situations. They won't be able to handle feeling too constrained or restricted by a person, a place, a circumstance. They will just they can't do it. It's not in their nature, and for some reason, by transit or something else in their chart, basically dictates that it's time to deal maybe responsibly, or time to grow up a bit or something like this. It would only last so long, and in the time between when they commit to something and when they've broken out of whatever it is, there will be a dampening of their spirits. It's not like they get enthused from the idea of commitment, and it's not that like they get enthused by the idea of discipline or regularity or comfort. Their comfort comes from knowing that there's there's something new coming. There's something more to do. There's places to see and people to meet. Their security is not like regular security, not a Taurian or Libran kind of security with material things that make them feel nice and warm and fuzzy. It's definitely more being mentally stimulated through whichever number of activities, conversations with certain people, seeing beautiful scenery while they go exploring, mental landscapes as well, documentaries, and even in astrology, Sagittarian moons can get really excited by the prospects of astrology, because it's exploring the mind. It's still exploring. You don't have to, Sagittarian moons don't always need to be physically exploring, although for the most part, not always, of course not always, but for the most part there is like a restlessness with these moons, and that that can imply I want to be physically active quite often. So there can be ADD kind of behaviors, or just like a general sense of, yep, no, I'm bored, like having to do something else. So for friends and family to not be offended by this is internally what they're experiencing. They're feeling like there's almost compulsion that they've just got to act. There's Sagittarius being represented by the centaur figure. You've got half man, half horse, and so they're literally within their own nature, especially on a lunar level. So emotionally, how they're torn between taking the higher road and the philosophical standpoint, which they most often will gravitate towards, believing they are just that, and instinctual needs. They do have very strong instinctual needs in the sense of, whether it's food or alcohol or other substances, it's anything that's going to modulate or change rather their current state of evenness. They're going to want to blow that out. So yeah, so eating way too much or drinking way too much or just doing something too much, that's, at least for them, that gives them a satisfaction that they're not being stuck in this regular kind of safe model or way of living, and they don't mind that. They really like doing things a bit excessively. But I think as they get older and as they mature, that kind of can improve a bit, based on they won't be able to do it. Their body's not going to let them in time. There will be like an eternal youth kind of going on, this kind of Peter Pan like attitude. But on some level, they'll learn to regulate that behavior. And I personally think that the moment that they've kind of given up on the belief that that's okay, that they actually have to grow up and become an adult in a in a very expected kind of how society views an adult, that they lose a part of themselves, like big time. You can say that about anyone, but I really feel with Sagittarian moons, they're just that part of them that where their imagination and the concepts and their their high energy, that needs an outlet. That's not just meant to conform and mold into a what's expected and to be too disciplined. Like, of course they can do with some discipline, and of course they can do with a little bit of structure for sure, but when they give away that entirely for the sake of a relationship or family or work, like, yeah, no, it's not gonna be in the best. It's not going to be the best for anyone, including themselves, especially for themselves. So if they've got a lot of space to explore, so mental space, physical space, a lot of them can be claustrophobic. If they have that space, if they have an element of spontaneity in their life, if they've got things to always look forward to, even if they do meditate, which I highly recommend for Sagittarius moons, because it allows their minds to expand, and it's giving them that satisfaction of traveling in another way but being grounded at the same time, so they can be centered in a way that they're not taken too far off balance, still being stimulated through daily activities, but they're a bit more balanced than if they weren't meditating, or if they didn't have some sort of philosophical zen like approach. When they get angry, because they are such happy-go-lucky people, when they get angry through being unheard, or their opinions don't matter, or feeling too confined, or having too much responsibility, whatever number of triggers cause them to actually trigger. So you got a happy-go-lucky person that's always excited. That excitement can turn into a massive explosion. Massive. It might not last very long, but it can be quite huge. It can be quite fiery. I mean, yeah, you can imagine if your temperament, you're just like, always going, and then you don't have an outlet. Of course it's going to erupt. Of course. And not in the way that, say, like a Taurus moon will erupt. That's a lot more deep kind of explosion, and then there's like a lot of ash that lasts after. This is more just like a sudden little eruption. Like, it's big, but it settles really kind of quick. So so they got room to travel mentally, physically, in whichever way possible. If they can travel and expand, if they're being stimulated also in the same sense through various new experiences, so variety is massive for these people, through sporting and adventures, being outside. Oh gosh, there's so many things. Even in books, I mean, non-fiction books, fiction books. inspirational quotes and pictures, them coming up with them themselves based on their own life experience. I think that as long as there are certain, if you're a Sagittarian moon and you ever have been, or you are now, currently not feeling yourself, or feeling maybe a bit on the depressed side, or feeling like there's no, you know, like what happened to being excited about life, just get back to the things you need, and that is your space to roam, that no one can take from you. You can create that space yourself. And also connecting to a higher source, so not in a fanatically religious sense, or religiously fanatical, not in a fanatical sense, but connecting, even if it's can be part philosophical, part just a felt experiential. I'm part of something bigger and better and more than what we see here. To appreciate this, but also to know you're part of more. Just something where you're allowing yourself to progress, but in a meaningful way, and you maintain integrity. These little things, as well as allowing yourself to be physically active, can just fulfill you in ways that can get you back to your center, and you don't have to feel like too confined again. Who cares? Who cares what anyone says about these certain responsibilities? There is definitely times in your life to cultivate. There's certain times, certain Saturn transits that are going to mark times in which you have to grow up and become a little bit more disciplined, but for like a bit, just to tone down a bit. Still allow yourself time and space to maintain the things that are important to you, and know that it is for a phase, and then after that phase you'll keep what matters and what worked, and then you can let go of the rest, and then continue on with this journey, this awesome adventure that is life. But to remember that life is a playground that you can learn so much from. But at the very end of the day, like, what do we know anyway? It's like, don't take things too seriously. Don't believe things too seriously. And that goes for, because we can, you can, they can have opinions that are almost complex opinions, and that they're always right, they know so much, and you know a lot. But paradigms change, facts in some respects change, opinions are valid on multitude of levels. Just a little bit of humility goes a long way, and even if you that confidence and belief, like, keep it within yourself. You can definitely share it times, but to maintain better contacts with others and to feel a bit more at peace within yourself, keep that know-it-allness maybe a little bit more to yourself, and not in a blocked way, but in like a, yeah, that's right, I know stuff kind of way. So associating with anything foreign, that's a little bit of an old school thing for the Sagittarian moons, but it could be foreign, and it could be conspiracy theory, it can be new languages, it can be philosophy, whatever it is. It's anything foreign is as foreign from what is known. So that's going with the whole progression and expansion. So yeah, if you have any questions about Sagittarius moons, I feel like I've covered a fair bit. Maybe the last thing I can add is, if you're a partner of a Sagittarian moon and you're wondering why on earth, excuse me, why on earth they are so frustrating, no, why they are so restless, and are they capable of maintaining commitment? The answer, I'd say, initially I would have said no, that they're in some ways an eternal bachelor or bachelorette. But as I get older and mature myself, I realize that Sagittarian moons definitely have the capacity, especially maybe as they get a bit older, for that commitment and that kind of relationship. But as long as they're being satisfied on all these other levels, as long as there's space and stimulation and understanding, and there's a natural compatibility, if they're not feeling too confined or restricted by emotional demands, or by having or obligations on top of what goes part of a relationship, there's definitely there's definitely capacity for them to stay around and to be excited by doing things with their partner. You know, travel together, have some space to yourself and time to yourself, but travel together, watch documentaries. You can do things together that maintain that spark. And I think it's very Sagittarian, a quote, I'm not going to get it right, but it's along the lines of, love is not staring into one another's eyes, but it's basically being with each other, but looking out to the world together. And that I feel is very Sagittarian moon like. So just like always, let me know if there's anything I can add or apply to, and just keep in mind also that certain aspects and certain transits are definitely going to modify the expression of the moon. So yeah, so I can touch base on that if you have any questions. So I hope you found this insightful, and I'll see you or speak to you in another video.